In Peyton's speech, I think we all kind of took away from it as, hey, this guy's going to run football. Like, I don't know how you run all of football, but I think he's going to run football. And everybody kind of just linked together like, oh, Peyton Manning's going to be the fucking commissioner of the NFL.
Here we go.
Roger Goodell's deal is up before the next CBA is to be negotiated because everybody said that last CBA, which is always ugly, publicly, disgustingly, it's big, it's bad for both sides publicly. The NFL seems to have a much better PR narrative on it than the players do, so they win over the public. Hey, if you win the mob, you win Rome, they say. The NFL always seems to win the mob in the CBA negotiations, but it still gets ugly for Roger Goodell because there's a lot of money being talked about in negotiating and everything like that. Being a commissioner is not easy at all. CBA negotiations are, when it gets its worst. And allegedly, Roger Goodell will be done before the next one. So this is all like a victory lap almost for Roger Goodell. Kind of, he's M&M's a little bit, starting to do that. It's like, I think Roger Goodell doesn't have to be the full-blown asshole all the time anymore because as a commissioner, you have to be, which, by the way, that is a difficult job. Yeah. You are going to make a decision against everybody's favorite team at some point that they are going to hate you for. That's just what your job is, basically. You're going to have to enact rules that you definitely didn't think of or think's the right move, but you have to because you work for 30 billionaires, so it's not an easy job. Roger Goodell has definitely made mistakes, but I think the game has gotten much better under his leadership, and I think right now he's currently in a victory lap because it was announced that he's not going to be around for the next CBA, so it's like, did Peyton last night at the Hall of Fame give a speech about how much he loves football, how it should be going forward, how it should be viewed, how, he feels about it and everything like that? Did he just propel himself directly into the conversation of this guy should be the commissioner? And I'll say this, I bet he would get voted in by the NFL and its owners immediately to be the commissioner. I think he would do an incredible job at being able to talk to the owners because he's been now at every single phase of the league. I guess he doesn't have... I don't know, he's been doing these tours where he's like job shadowing and seeing things and doing things. He's like real quiet. He's able to do whatever he wants to do. If he's the commissioner, I think it's like a perfect hire. But do you want to get paid $40 million, okay, which is a lot of money, okay? $40 million a year is a lot of money. Peyton has already made a lot of money, okay? And probably his money is probably making money for him at the moment. So he's making a lot of money. I think he's doing. Do you want to be the commissioner of the NFL? Is that what Peyton really wants? I'd want him to be one because I've seen the way he operates. I think, and also the owners would be able to respect and appreciate, and he'd also be able to give a different direction, hopefully with the NFL-PA relationship. But do you think Peyton Manning, who has been pretty good at picking and choosing what he wants to do, what he doesn't want to do, and it seems like he crushes everything he does. He doesn't have a lot of misses. Whenever Peyton steps into the batter's box for anything, normally going to be a home run. Would you want to take the position where you are the shield, basically, for 30 billionaires and these decisions in the biggest league in the world? Is that something you want to do? Because you are going to be hated by people. Inevitably, you are going to be hated by people. Is that? I don't know. It'd be great for the game. It'd be great for the league. But if you're Peyton Manning, do you think Peyton really wants to do that? I think that's what everybody has to ask.
Not a chance. I think at this point too, like he could just kind of wait it out, and then eventually he'd be like, all right, I'm gonna do Sunday Night Football. You'll pay me $25 million a year, and I'll have 20 days.
He could do anything he wants.
Legit. So it's like what I mean. NFL commissioner, like you got a lot on your plate if you're doing that.
$40 million a year, though.
And I guess at that point, his kids might be a little bit older where it's not like, if they're out of the house, maybe he would want to do it. But I feel like...
And you have actual say in the future of the game.
True.
Like he talked about coaching his son football team or whatever.
Yeah.
And my sources have told me that they actually did have a play sheet on a wristband.
I don't doubt it.
So they were good.
My sources told me that they were potentially Omaha.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
Yeah, and they were dominant, by the way, from what I've been told. Never would have guessed that Peyton Manning led.
Marshall's reading defenses and shit?
I don't know if they're reading defenses or not, but I assume he could. Marshall, have you seen him, by the way, going around? His son shakes everybody's hand so firmly and perfectly and then just goes around, has the utmost amount of respect for everything. He is probably going to be just like Arch, I assume. Look for him to do that. But Peyton talked about giving back to the game while coaching and everything. If you're the commissioner of a league, you have the chance to really give back to the game a lot there and make a lot of say. And I don't think there's a single player that has ever met Peyton that would say, no, he's not the right guy to do it. And I don't think there's a single owner out there that would say, no, he's not the right guy to do it. I think it would be a home run for everybody. But inevitably, if you're Peyton Manning, you're going to have to deal with some bullshit, which it doesn't seem like there's much of that in his life right now anywhere. What's going on?
Well, and when you talked about Monday Night Football, like the big sell for him was that he could just stay home, hang out on the couch, and then just talk to Eli basically through a FaceTime. So to your point, the commissioner, I mean, that is a massive job. He'd be doing so much shit.
Do you see it as soon as 2024? Because that's when Roger Goodell's contract ends.
Yeah, and who knows if he'll extend another year if they can't find the proper, the transition in one of these roles is, I mean, this is a big fucking deal. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, this is a big, big deal. Is it somebody from within? Is it somebody that they've groomed like Roger Goodell was?
I was
basically?
Gonna say, I think it has to be like that, right?
I don't know.
Roger's been an intern since 1997 there.
Goodell?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like running mail, I think. Like, Goodell has literally been in the NFL office corporate world forever, and then it was just like, okay, we also have the perfect guy to be the commissioner here that has been here, knows everything about everything. Yeah. Like everything about everything. Knows where we can, knows what we can't, knows, we shouldn't. Now, Roger Goodell, and I alluded to this earlier, he is definitely fucked up. Like, let's not get it twisted. There Absolutely. Has been terrible decisions made that probably are Roger Goodell's decisions to be made. But then there's a lot of decisions that never get talked about, it seems like, because it's like anything else. Once you hate somebody, it's going to be very difficult to give them credit for anything. What Roger Goodell has done with the NFL since he was commissioner to now, in 2024, if that's whenever he's up, think about the growth business-wise. Think about the reach. Think about the game as a whole. They had to battle, too. There was a lot of lawsuits. There was a whole new science. There was a whole new disease and ailment in the brain that came up that was literally created. Somehow got through all of that. Now, once again, there's a lot of fucking up through there. There's a lot of probable bad decisions that were made in there. But still, to continue to grow the game, like I think when it's all said and done, Roger Goodell goes into the Hall of Fame, obviously, and everybody will look back on a much more positive light of his entire career as opposed to what it is now when we're in the middle of it because he's fucking over my favorite team or your favorite team or their favorite team or whoever's favorite team. But whoever gets in there next, that's a big... How's your relationship going to be with the NFLPA? How's your relationship going to be with the media? Do you have a different vision for the media as opposed to the old school cable things? Do you have a digital streaming thing? How are you going to present things to the owners? How do you pitch things from the owners? How do you get information from the owners and then let people know what that information is? What's your angle going to be? Are you going to give more than Roger Goodell gave? Are you going to be your own person? Or are you going to try to mimic Roger Goodell? There is a lot on the plate because if you fuck it up, don't worry about it. They just signed a $113 billion deal. There's probably only $1 trillion worth of capital that's going to come in the next 20 to 30 years. You're in charge of it. Good luck. Don't fuck it up. That position is going to be a very, very difficult one to fill. And if it's Peyton Manning, that would be wild if we had a former player in there. Peyton Manning's speech was awesome.
Yeah.
Him basically saying this is why you should love football. He laid out what kids in the future will get to do, and at the end is that have fun, basically. And he talked about everything going on in the world and how now, since before this time, it was about us. Now that he's in the Hall of Fame going forward, it's about being a steward of the game and like making sure this game carries on. And his quote, "A legacy is only worthwhile when there is a future to fuel it," is unbelievably deep. And I think, by the way, it can go for everything he potentially mentioned in his entire speech, not just about the football and everything else. I mean, I thought it was very well put together. He powered through that thing. He did not take any breaks because they told him he had 6 minutes. And I think he was on the record saying, I'm going to use only my 6 minutes, allotted 6 minutes, because I think Peyton was trying to be like, hey, if I was able to do it, everybody can be able to do it going forward because of the abuses of times that have happened in the past. We should at least, this is how we can do it. So if you give him a guideline of how to go and he says he's going to do it, I guess he stayed in there. I don't know what the official time was. He was reading that thing, though, very quick. There was a couple good pops he could have got, too, and I think he powered through. So I think there was a couple standing ovation moments potentially and laughing and clapping moments in there that maybe didn't have as big of a moment because he powered right through it because he had a lot to say. But what a fucking speech by him and Edgerrin James as well. Like, as a Colt, I think Edgerrin James talking about perceptions and his secret weapon of him working out before anybody or even afterwards, after driving everybody home from the club, after sipping on cranberry when everybody else was drinking vodka or whatever. And he just goes, works out at 4 or 5 a.m. And Jim Irsay, who inducted him, said it was so funny in the video. He said, this is a guy that would outwork everybody. At 3 a.m. he'd work out. And Jim Irsay said, that's no exaggeration. He was trying to showcase that people say this all the time about people, but Edge's work ethic, I guess, even behind the scenes, no glitz or glamour. I just want to let everybody know, like, that is awesome. I'm so happy and proud for all of them. And what an incredible weekend.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, like you said, with Peyton, I think everyone expected it. We've seen him host SNL. Like, we've seen enough of Peyton now with Peyton's Places and everything. Yeah, College Bowl. Like, he was going to crush it no matter what. And, I mean, to your point, too, about, like, cutting people down, he roasted Ray Lewis, he just finished his speech from 2 years ago or whatever. But I think you're right. I didn't know what to expect out of Edgerrin James really, just because you never really know what these guys are going to say, I think, going into it, and especially because we didn't have one last year. You expect a lot of just, like, the cliche ones, but, like, his was incredible. I was blown away. Like, and it didn't look like he had anything that he was, like, going – he literally just got up there and kind of just spoke from the heart, and it was amazing.